find it. We've learned this the hard way, that if you get there early, then people can find you easier. So,
Nick, could you actually switch your camera to you so we could see you talking?
oh yeah, that thing. Okay, this is why we start early. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, I can't see me, but
We can see you. You're there. I promise.
all right, hold on a second. Let me see. Okay, great. Okay, so hey everyone, it's Nicholas Wilton at Art to Life, and we're doing another kitchen table art project. This is going to be really fun. We're kind of talking about walking on the wild sides, our theme, how to kind of create some energy and wildness, even though you're stuck inside. And that's showing up in my work a lot this week, and just doing a lot of crazy things. Maybe it's just because I've been inside so much for the past month. But we have an awesome lineup today of folks. We have Ferris again, making a martini drink, some kind of drink. I don't know what it is, some wild drink, right? Ferris, what's the drink you're making?
It's a Negroni I'm gonna make.
Okay, so this is great. And we have Doug Hammett, who's an amazing artist, friend in Los Angeles, and he'll be sharing his work and all his wild stuff. We got Gordon Studer. Gordon, are you in LA now? Oh, his mic's off.
Yes, I'm still in LA.
Okay, so yeah, so Gordon's a fine artist and amazing. We're going to be looking at his work, and I haven't actually gotten to see his new studio, so this is so cool. It looks huge, Gordon. Oh my God. Yeah, awesome. And then we have Rachel Stott, who's going to be joining us. She's got an amazing line of imaginary creatures. I think stuffed animals is not what they're like, creatures that she makes that are really cool. Rachel, what's the right word for these?
So I often say soft sculpture.
Soft sculpture,
because
okay.
I'm galleried in San Francisco as a fiber artist. So there's sort of a fun take on sculpture with textiles.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to be diving into your world in a few minutes. Look at that, it's so cool. And we also have Drew and Maria Brophy on, who is going to be sharing us with some of his work. He's a fine artist and does amazing surf art and incredible stuff on all kinds of products and his own paintings. And his wife Maria is going to be with us as well. And they had a little bit of a technical blow up right before the call started, so we're going to see what happens with them. So, okay, and I'm going to be working on. Let me just share my screen here. Let's see. I'm going to be working on. Let's see. Is my screen showing up? Let's see.
Not yet, but soon. Oh no, we can see the overhead shot. Is that what you're looking?
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm going to be working on this. This is my most wildest thing that I got going, and I'm going to be trying to dial this in while we're talking. This was actually just a painting that I just took a palette and I stuck the wet paint on here, and I just love, actually I like it this way better. So I'll be working on this on the call while we're going. But I'm loving some of this crazy stuff going here. So I've got some ideas as to what I'm going to do. And yeah, so we'll be working on that. So let me, I think I got introduced everyone. Let me share my screen here for a second, and I will welcome to everyone who's watching on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. We have a little bit of a challenge with Instagram because it only lets us stream for an hour. So that's something, if you want to get, you know, you can watch from Instagram. We've tried to make it as good as possible, but it does expire in an hour, and then we have to run around trying to set the camera up. So if you want a sort of uninterrupted thing, hop over to Facebook, the Art to Life Facebook page, and you can watch it there, or on the Art to Life YouTube channel. All right, so I'm going to, let me just start here. I'm going to share my screen here and grab some stuff here. Hold on. Okay. Now, I think you wanted me to start with Drew Brophy. Is that right, Terry? Because of his technological thing. Are you guys ready to, is that the best way to go?
Yeah, let's start with them. I'm just afraid because they lost their power that their cell phone batteries might die.
Okay.
And Drew just needs to turn his camera sideways because he's sideways on our screen, I believe. The one facing you, not the one on your work.
Just need to rotate it, Drew.
Well,
while he's
rotated it.
I'll talk a little here. This is some of his work. One of the major, most of his work is done with these Posca pens. And if you guys haven't tried these are amazing. And all this stuff that he does on these boards, inspired from a life of surfing. That's him right there. Hey, Drew.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Let me just show the audience your work here, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so great. And so you guys are down in, where's your studio in Southern California? What's the town?
So we're in San Clemente, a little beach town, and we just love to surf. And so my career's revolved around doing stuff in the action sports industry all these years.
Yeah, it's great, man. Awesome. Okay, let me just stop sharing. Okay, all right. So, okay. So I'm not seeing Drew on my screen, but I'm sure he's there. Okay, there you are. Okay, so what just happened? You had a power outage or something?
Yeah, so we were setting up, we were all ready, and then I heard a big explosion outside, and all the power in the whole city went out. So we're doing this via cell phone. We set up out in front of my gallery, and it's a beautiful day here, so it's not so bad. Hopefully this all works.
Yeah, no, great. Well, so tell us what are you working on these days? What kind of stuff are you doing?
Well, since everything's kind of changed in the last couple of months, we moved everything to Zoom like this, and we're doing get-togethers 3 times a week, and just really trying to spread a little bit of joy and get people, focused on creating and having fun. And, my art kind of has a real whimsical feeling to it. So it's been perfect to share with people around the world and feel like you're mixing it up and seeing people just like this. This has been a real lifesaver.
What's so cool, because I went to one of your Posca paint parties, and I don't know, I mean, what I love about what you're doing is that it's so darn accessible, and maybe it's just because those pens are really they're just so user friendly. There's no mixing of paint. And I just love that when I was on that party, I saw that you had all these different levels from like super advanced to people just starting out, young kids. It's just something that I don't get a lot of, and I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it is the pens. The pens are real user-friendly and intuitive. So, I try to keep it as simple as I can. And we've had some other artists on there go a little bit more instructional for portraits and things. But really, we try to keep it simple, so something everybody can do.
Yeah.
And the pens will really allow that. And,
I think what I'll do is maybe I'll grab a box of the pens. Let me grab, hey, AJ, can you grab those pens over here just because I can show it really easily on my screen? Yeah, and what's cool about these pens is that they go on top of oil paints. Just bring the whole box. And they go on top of acrylic as well.
Yeah, they're just a really good tool. Just another tool in your workshop,
Yeah, so these are
I'm painting
the pens, and this is what I'm using a lot, Drew, on my paintings. These fatter ones.
Yeah, so those are those sevens. They're really kind of big, and they put out a lot of paint. And when you're working smaller, you use these 5s, which I have in my hand. They're called 5 mils. And I'm working on a little painting here as we speak. And what's great is you can paint anywhere, which has been great for people. There's no setup. I can paint at the beach, or I can paint on my couch. And I think that's what the real cool thing about these pens were. And for me as an artist, that's what really allowed me to excel, because I, didn't have a whole lot of art training, and this allowed me to get my ideas out in a way that didn't take too much instruction, and I developed my own little system, and now I'm able to share it with people, which is great.
Yeah. And so what are they made of? Why do they work on oil paintings and acrylic paintings? Are they like lacquer based, or what? They're kind of amazing.
Yeah, they're water-based pens, and it's a water-based acrylic, and I'm sure it's some type of intellectual property that they got a secret on however it works, but it pretty much paints on almost anything, on glass and on metal. And it's just, for me, of course I got started painting on surfboards, and it was just a really fun way to make your own surfboard unique and add some personality to it. And I made a life for myself doing that, and then eventually, became an illustrator using the same pens. And I'm very thankful.
Yeah, they're just amazing. So this is pretty much what you use exclusively.
Yeah, pretty much for most of my illustrations. As we all know, when you get hired, you have a quick timeline, and this allows me to paint fast, and it really translates really well to printing. So when I do a painting for a company for some type of ad campaign or merchandising, it prints really well, the end product.
So can you show us what you're working on? That's okay.
Yeah.
Can you
I have a camera here.
This was just, if you can keep an eye on this, make sure. Okay. What was that, Drew? Can you tilt your, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if both my cameras are working, but
yeah, that's working.
I'm working with just like, so is this bottom one camera working too?
Well,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the other camera's not. Oh, now it's back on now.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's going on there.
Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
No, that's fine.
We've been getting thrown a lot of curveballs over here.
It's okay, Drew. You can use just one camera if you. Actually, this is great what you have right now. This is coming in clearly. This is good.
Okay, good. Maria's working behind the scenes to keep this going, and it just really shows how much effort goes in one of these calls to get everybody on board. And the technology is fantastic.
Oh no, we don't.
Oh no, we just lost one of his cameras. Everybody, thank you for being so patient. Like we said a moment ago, Drew unfortunately lost power at his property. So Drew, I don't know if you can still hear us. We can still see what you're drawing right now. We just can't hear anything you're saying. So we're probably going to get in contact with his wife, Maria, just to see if we can get this up and running. Nick, in the meantime, could you just tell us a little bit about what you're working on here? Like what colors you're using?
So what I'm working on now is I'm changing up this painting a lot. Is that a good view? Can they see all that? Okay. Yeah, so I want to do this really simple kind of calligraphic flat pattern on top of this. And so I've got all this kind of rich color. So I'm putting something really flat and just kind of basic on it to make a real simple thing on top of a really complicated thing.
And I think we actually just got Drew back in here.
Okay.
Drew, we can see you now. We just need to unmute yourself.
I think, am I unmuted?
There we go. We got you.
Got it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we might have a lot of technical problems. So if you guys just want to move along, and I'll just try to hold up my painting every once in a while.
Okay.
And I don't want to hold you guys back. And I'm just glad to be here and listening in and having a good time with you all.
And just to let everyone know that, we're going to provide all the links and everything so you guys can join some of his painting parties and check out these pens and everything. Okay, well, we'll come back. Hey, Ferris, do you want to do that drink right now? That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I can do that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew, I'm so sorry. I'm actually just going to turn your camera off right now.
Sure, that's fine.
We do appreciate you being here. I'm so sorry this power thing happened to you. That's a bummer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this drink that I'm going to do is called Negroni. The drink itself, with this wild side theme, the reason why I chose it is because it has kind of an interesting story. The guy who created it, there's a bit of dispute over who created it. One person is credited with it is a guy named Count Camillo Negroni, who created it at a bar in Italy, in Florence. And he used to have a drink that was made with soda, and he said, I want you to replace it with gin. This guy also had a pretty interesting life himself. He at one point moved to the United States in his 20s, was a cowboy back when you could do that. He was a riverboat gambler when apparently that was also a career you could do. And then just to top it off, just to make things super interesting, he moved to New York and was a fencing instructor for a little bit.
Oh my God.
So this guy just like, and to make things even crazier, there's some possibility the identity mix-up maybe because he actually changed his name, fleeing Napoleon when he conquered like all of Europe because he was a count. So pretty interesting guy. There's a lot more to it than that. But this drink that he made, the Negroni, it's one of my favorite drinks. And it became really popular again back in, I would say, the early 2000s in San Francisco. San Francisco gets like these weird drink trends that seem to come out of nowhere. It's inexplicable. This one's really easy to make though. The alcohol is gin. So I have the family size bottle of gin here. You can, it's for, it's for everybody. It's also good for weightlifting. That's the first ingredient. You also need Italian vermouth. It doesn't have to be sweet vermouth, it just has to be Italian vermouth. That's it. That's what's most important. The third thing is Aperol. Now, Aperol is a Italian aperitif. It's normally drinking after meals. It has a very lovely herbal flavor to it. The traditional Negroni recipe calls for Campari. You can use that if you want. I like Aperol a bit more myself, just because it has a bit more of a softer, more floral flavor to it. So let me turn my camera here towards my bar. Can you guys see that right now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes. So this is an easy drink to make, like I said, and it's easy because it's all equal parts. So meaning you don't even have to measure it if you don't want to. So here is my drink right here. Now, normally you put this into a highball glass where you could mix it because we're a little short on time. I'm doing this quickly. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in an amount that I want. So this is what's called like a standard 2 fingers pour. Used to be that people would measure alcohol pours in the amount of fingers that you had. So you say, I want 1 finger of gin, 2 fingers of gin, 3 fingers of gin. This is about 2 fingers of gin right here. And I put ice in it as well because I like a lot of ice in my drinks. And then the next thing you do is you pour in the Aperol. Again, same thing. This is a very wide mouth bottle, so you don't need a lot. You don't need to make a pretty, you don't need to angle it very much because it just slips right out. And then finally, the vermouth. And to do that, just like before, be a little gentle while you're pouring it. Fantastic. Now, here's the last thing that I like to do. This is just my own touch. I love bitters. Bitters are a great way to spruce up any drink. I like specifically grapefruit bitters. This is just my own addition. What
are bitters exactly?
Bitters, it's it's made. It's basically like a proprietary blend of herbs and spices that are allowed to marinate in an alcoholic substrate for a long period of time. They have a medicinal flavor to it. Usually, I mean, like with most cocktails that you have, the bitters were made to basically make the water, which around the time that this drink was made, this is like in the 1700s, 1800s, most water was poisonous. You couldn't drink it. So to mask the flavor of the water and to disinfect it to a certain degree, cocktails were invented. And bitters was one way to help make bad water and bad liquor taste better.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's a pretty, like mimosas, for example, not a lot of people know, but mimosas were actually the things that everyone loves at lunch. Those were invented by cowboys because the water that they would take would go bad. So it's like, well, it's easier to bring champagne and orange juice and drink that because at least orange juice has some water in it. We can disinfect it with the champagne. So pretty silly. Anyway, Now that it's been poured in here, just stir it up a bunch of times. The traditional recipe calls for stirring it 40 times. You can if you want. I think it's a little excessive. It's really up to you. And then finally, to make it extra fancy, you want to garnish it with an orange peel. You just use a standard potato peeler, just like this. And what you do with the peel of orange, you don't just drop it in there. What you actually do is you want to twist it lightly, put it right above the drink, and then pull ever so gently. And I don't know if you can you can't probably see this on the camera, but as I do that, what's happening is little bits of orange, like spritz, it's going up into the air, and it adds this delicious hint of orange to this entire thing. And that's pretty much it. And then you enjoy.
Wow.
Yeah, another great thing about this drink, or perhaps dangerous, is that because it's all equal parts alcohol, it's pretty boozy, but it's also very delicious. Like, this does not taste like alcohol right now. This tastes like, I don't know, like something vaguely medicinal and healthy for you. But all things in moderation. But anyway, that's pretty much how you do it. And like I said, I think with keeping the wild side theme, I just picked this one just because I like the mystery surrounding this drink. I like that no one really knows where it came from. I like that the character who they think made it was a count who fled to America, decided to become a cowboy for a little bit. And I was like, nah, that's not for me. I'm going to be a riverboat gambler. It's fantastic. But yeah, so anyway, cheers everyone.
Cheers. Cheers, man. I'll cheers with my tea.
That works. Tea. That works too. I'll take that.
Cheers.
Oh, who was also cheersing me there? Someone else was? Who was that? I heard someone else's voice. Is that you, Drew?
Drew, I'm cheersing.
Oh, cheers.
Can't wait to have one.
They're really good. So easy
Yeah,
to make.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Look at that color too. Look at how beautiful that is.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Well, that was my walk on the wild side drink for today. But yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Of course. I'll pass it back off to you, Nick.
Okay, cool. So I want to share my screen because I want to make a couple announcements here that I want to do at the top of the hour here. I just want to share with you guys.
Nick, did you go into presentation mode too?
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go. These were the folks, Gwen and Gunamarkaran, who won the last couple of these kitchen table art projects. What they're doing is when you do something that's related to what we're talking about, the one on the right was the blue theme, and you just use hashtag kitchen table art project.com, and we're sharing these on our Art to Life World Instagram account, and every week we choose one and we give a gift certificate to our store, $50 gift certificate where you can buy the pens as well, the Posca pens. So anyway, I thought this was pretty cool, and I love this one here on the left with the actual stuff glued in. It's so cool. So and we thought this was really great. And Anna Bergen, she's painting her face and her kids as well. So it's really, really great. So thanks for that. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys some of Rachel's soft sculpture. This is pretty cool stuff. This is some of the things she makes. We're gonna hear all about how she makes these, how she puts them together. They're so cool. And I just really am so glad you were able to be here today. So let me just stop my sharing there. So do you have hey, Rachel.
Hello.
So
thanks for
what
having
are you
me.
working on today? I love your studio. It's just
Thank you. I'll just show you one of my friends up close.
So, okay, here's my question. Do you have a plan, or are you just grabbing stuff, creating these things? I mean, are these all one of a kind or what?
So they're all one of a kind.
Wow.
So the whole project started around the idea of reuse. I grew up around a lot of different materials, people in the fashion industry, people in textiles. So I have always just loved material. And I can show you, I have some things here. So kind of what happens for me, let me just utilize multiple screens. Okay,
Yeah.
so kind of what happens for me is I just go and find material that speaks to me. And a lot of the materials I have at the moment have been generous donations or found materials. And then I'll find sort of notions and bits. I have endless piles of buttons.
Oh man.
I love sourcing. So I think a lot of the fun for me is just finding different things and figuring out how they go together. And then one of the fun things I worked out partway through the project was SF Design Center donates most of their textile samples to a place called Fabmo in Mountain View, California.
Oh my God.
And so you can go in and they have days where you can just book a slot to go in and they're donation based. And you can find beautiful pieces of textile that would normally end up in the landfill. So
Man,
I found...
If those are from the design center, they're like amazing. Like Highland Court is a huge brand. I mean, this
I know.
like
I'm ripping.
that's like a $40 piece of fabric right there. I mean,
yeah, and also these beautiful fabric books. I have a friend, an interior designer friend, who also was clearing out things from the last 20 years and gave me some of her collection. So very cool. I found that for my creatures, this is really great for the booty just because it's a more robust material. So I've been utilizing that. And so today I just wanted to show you. So this is a squeeble to be.
wow.
You can see all the bits. And then I specifically source climate beneficial wool for my filling.
So what does that mean exactly?
So it means that this wool was produced at a ranch here in California, and that it's climate beneficial because it's taking carbon out of the atmosphere, the way that the sort of production runs at the ranch. So by using this, I'm able to say that I'm a natural fiber product, which has been a really important thing to me. When I started, I was originally using polyfill, and it didn't feel like it was in line with this whole idea of a sustainable product. So I worked with some of my friends who are in the sheep shearing industry here in California and found a ranch where I could buy 40 pounds at a time. So I have a lot of wool. Yeah, and then once I've filled this little guy, then we'll put some hair on him or her, gender neutral.
It's kind of amazing because really all you need are like 2 eyes and a little hair, and the thing, I mean, it's a creature, you know it's a thing just by, it's so wide open.
Exactly. And that's been a really fun part, is sort of watching them come to life. And then I'm going to show you one other thing. I have done a lot of work with watercolors. So this is one of my watercolors. And I went through the process of working with spoon flour and printing onto, this is eco canvas. So I get these, and I get this from spoon flour, and then from there I use different pieces of fabric, reclaimed fabric, to do the back. Again, fill it with wool, and then find fun options for a hairdo.
And what is spoon flour? What did you say?
So Spoon Flour is this really very cool company. Shout out to them. So they do image printing on different textiles, and they have really good quality. As you can see, the color quality is great. As much as screen printing is wonderful at home, this is a much easier, faster bulk option.
Yeah, and so, wow, that's so great. That's just watercolor, but that's been printed on the canvas.
Exactly.
Now,
they all have personalities. This is Ethel. Ethel likes snack foods and watching Mrs. Maisel. as you can imagine.
And then do you take so these are in stores or galleries, or how do people get one of these?
Yeah, so I have a couple of different ways to be found. I'm currently at City Arts Cooperative Gallery in San Francisco at
And
Valencia.
we'll provide links for all this, by the way, everyone. Yeah, so we'll have
Yeah,
links.
you're from all over the place. But yeah, San Francisco, the Mission. I am in a gallery there. And I can also be found online at my website. And I also am part of a group called Makers Market in the Bay Area. So I have done many markets with them, Saturday afternoons in the park style experience.
Is this what you're doing most of the time right now? Like, is this your full-on gig now?
I did for a couple of years, but I'm currently enrolled in a sustainable management grad program in San Francisco.
Neat.
So I'm really interested. Doing this work made me very passionate about the sort of trail on our textiles. And I'm interested in doing corporate responsibility work. So it kind of ties in. I'm very passionate about sustainable products, the environment, and how do we have fashion with a little bit of responsibility.
Yeah,
So,
right. And what's cool is that what you're doing. I mean, this, whether you do it all the time or part of the time, it completely connects to the long vision, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And then I've also done like team builder workshops. I've taught with AmeriCorps for underserved communities. I taught at several middle schools last summer and taught middle schoolers how to make monsters, which was an amazing experience, as you can imagine.
Because again, it's just, you can just find stuff and then just start, like, are those drawings back there hanging up? Are those like ideas for your?
Yeah, so those are a couple of the squeebles I've already made and are out in the world.
Because I like the drawings a lot too.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right?
I had someone approach me about a kid's book, and so I've just been thinking about the squeebles on an adventure and what that would look like. And so those were some of my preliminary watercolors.
How did you get the name Squeeball? It's so fantastic.
You know, it's a credit to my mom. She, Diane Lockett, she had the sort of the coolest sense of imagination and play, and is an artist. And she taught me the idea of a squeeball, which is sort of this thing, this sort of dark, ghouly monster flavor, but it's less scary if you can look at it and name it. And so she kind of taught me to draw and think about challenging things as monsters or squeeballs.
It kind of is perfect for like COVID, you know, because this is a really hard thing, but it's also just settling into the uncertainty of it. And, you know, it's like facing it, and I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. I've been thinking about what the COVID squeeball looks like, and I'm
I'll ask a couple of questions, Rachel. Some people have some, they're loving this. They would like to know a bit more, if I may.
Absolutely, yeah.
First question is, everyone wants to know is, do you name them all?
I do. This is White Club.
Is there a process for that, or is it kind of done at the end, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it depends on the squeeball. Sometimes it's like I'm starting to play with it and it's instant, and then sometimes it's sort of afterwards, after I've sat with the squeeball for a little bit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it definitely depends on the flavor of the particular squeeball.
You got to get its essence first before you name it. And then also, people want to know the samples that you get. How do you remove the glue from them?
Excellent question. Excellent question. You can use a bit of Goo Gone. You run the risk with any kind of chemicals, obviously, if it's seeping through the other side. If it's thick enough, it can be done. I will say that if it's thick enough, I just use I usually am able to tear some of it off. Can
you use like a palette knife or something to get underneath it and scrape it off?
Get under there, knife, scissors, whatever you have.
Okay.
But sometimes it has to go into scrap. One of the things I do is I cut up a lot of the scrap that I can't really use it for anything else. And I
Mhm.
stuff the bottom of the squeeble so it gives it a little bit of weight. So that's another way to reuse a material, is to just use it as part of your stuffing.
Okay. And I think you said this a moment ago, but just to say it one more time, where do you source these materials from? Where do you get all of your fabric samples from? Everything, really. That's what everyone wants to know.
Yeah, so many places. The second I sort of started working on the project and telling people about it, everyone showed up with bags of like garments, you know, that they were like, this would be cool
Wow.
to be something. So that was really cool. But as far as like resources in the Bay Area, if you just look online, like recycled materials wherever you are, usually you'll find, we have a place called Scrap. They're phenomenal. They have
I
everything.
love scrap.
Right. Like they're the answer to everything.
So awesome.
Urban Ore in the East Bay. Fabmo is just an amazing source because of how clean and meticulous and sorted everything is. And they're next to Google in Mountain View.
What we'll do is we'll get we'll put them on the PDF, you know, and you guys, you can get the PDF, because I've never heard of that what do you call Fabmo, or what was that?
Fabmo, yeah, Fabmo, Fabmo.
Oh no, that sounds great.
And also, I would be really happy if people want to reach out to me directly by email. I would love to talk with you, and if I can help you in any way to find
Oh man,
materials.
that's so great.
I think we put your contact information in that PDF. We put it all
Very
in there.
cool.
Last question, burning question. People want to know, do you hand sew all of these?
I do not. Sometimes I do closing and hair, and you know, a lot of when you close it up, that's all hand sewing. But for a lot of the sort of surface work, I use my machine. I have a Bernina. It has been an amazing thing. It makes coffee while it sews. I swear that thing can do anything. And so I have learned, I don't have any with extreme handwork here, but I did learn how to do some really beautiful sort of embroidery stitches. So sometimes I use that as an accent, but unless it's a more challenging part, I use the sewing machine.
Fantastic.
But to answer that, like if you're at home and you just want to make something, I have a friend who does all of her projects by hand. She really likes the experience of sewing by hand, and I think that, you know, this is very doable by hand. Obviously buttons are by hand, and this would just be sort of a simple stitch. So it is doable. Don't be discouraged. If you have fabric, make things.
I cannot sew to save my life, so I'm already blown away by what you're. I'm like, well, you must be a brain surgeon probably too, if you know how to sew.
I mean, I taught myself to sew 2 years ago, and it was a really intense experience. But I started on a Hello Kitty, like very cheap sewing machine off of Amazon, so it can be done.
So so right now you're working on things. Is there a theme that you're starting to produce in response to quarantine, or are you just kind of getting to work on, you know, your normal projects right now?
Still working on normal projects. Yeah, I'm interested to see. I have made a mask, and I have thought about making a squeeble face mask.
Oh,
I
yes.
just used some of my sort of very
I love it.
beautiful material to do that. But yeah, that's a really good question. You know, I dropped off my 87-year-old grandmother is a quilter, and I dropped off a bag of masks to our local grocery store, and I've just been trying to figure out how to be in it, but also make the monsters.
Yeah.
So
I want one of those.
figure that part out.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all are, but I feel like if you have a sewing machine or hands, you should be.
You know, I think if you did some COVID monsters, you could do them with the masks. So they comes with a mask, like it's, you know, and these would be collector items, because this isn't going to go forever. So anyway.
It could be fun for kids also, sort of, you know, in some ways, like
Lighten it
helping
up.
to explain and normalize this thing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Making it, cutifying it a bit.
Yeah. Wow. Well, listen, thanks so much for opening this door for everyone. I love that. What's that one called in your hand? Can you hold them up again?
This is Wyclef. And Wycliffe loves 70s Chicago house music and spicy guacamole.
Very nice.
Very nice velvet back.
This
He's
is
actually for sale. He's one of my last squeebles from the sort of like older days. I've kind of been unable to part with him, but I'm open if someone feels.
how much would a squeeble like that big cost? Because that's a big one.
This one's $240. So I run between sort of 40 and 240.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much. Really, so
you.
fun. And when
Thanks
you're in
for having me.
When you're in Sausalito, looking for, materials, come by the studio. I'd love to meet you in person when we all can.
Yes, I'm 2 blocks away.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I thought you were in the city. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm all over the place, but I have this. Yeah, this studio's in Sausalito.
Oh, okay, great. Well, we'll
I'll come find you.
All right. Okay, thanks
right.
so much. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Awesome. Okay, so let me share my camera again here, my link here. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to hop down and we're going to talk to Doug Hammett. And it's so funny, Doug, because when I was just looking at that large squeeble, it reminded me of that project you did. So here's my friend Doug. I guess this is a Burning Man shot. And I look at the little sculpture thing on the handlebars. That's very kind of a clue as to some of the cool stylized, he does all kinds of stuff, but this is his latest series he's working on. Doug's been to a couple of shops. Hey, Doug.
Hey.
This is so cool to see these done. Because when you were working on them in Mexico, you didn't have them all.
No, I really pushed what I was doing prior. I was kind of stuck and I needed to move past that. And I was doing works out of these kind of geometric forms. If you remember, I was calling them candy.
Yes.
I almost took on a persona of candy, and pronoun was a she, although I'm a bearded guy. That the colors that you see more and kind of peeking through those silhouette shapes are more of what I was doing prior. And I think, Ferris, you might have some examples of what those look like, of what I was doing prior.
Nick, do you have that in your PDF? You might. I might be able to pull some stuff up.
This was.
That's the newer stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Whoops.
So yeah,
those are also great.
Hold on.
I was working with these kind of geometric patterns, and they're really great, but they're very loud, kind of saturated colors. And then in Mexico at Haramara, which is a great retreat center, and Nick does that in December, I really pushed those geometric shapes just to see how I could bring figure back in, because I'd been working on a tarot deck for many years prior to that, and I really love figure. And when I finished that project, I needed to just go abstract, and that's when the really geometric forms started to take shape. And then I wanted to start, I missed figure, I missed narrative. And that's what these works are now. They're a narrative with abstraction combined. And so that's my current state right now.
What's so cool is that what you've done now, and this you hadn't really done. I mean, the Frog King kind of has that, but by making the background so black and dark, it really dominates. That white shape is really what it's about. And then the secondary rainbow colors are in there, but they're not, it's not distracting anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's a really tricky thing, trying to find, probably a lot of people on this call and people watching struggle with, is how do you combine abstraction with figurative? How do you find a story with just the beauty of a material?
Yeah.
And it was kind of similar to like the little stuffed toys, is how do you work with the materials? And because you kind of fall in love with the materials. And I know sometimes you just don't want to do anything with it. It's just a beautiful color or a beautiful shape. And that's kind of, I think, what promotes abstraction. But then there's a part that wants a story and wants some kind of history. And also keeping it open. So how do you keep abstraction? How do you keep narrative specific but open? So that's been my I think my long-term goal in general is how do I find the story but keep it open?
Yeah, I love it. And tell everyone how you make these exactly. Like, what are the materials here? I mean, I know they're acrylic and stuff, but this has become kind of a process now for you.
Well, I could show you if Ferris puts me on the other live. Actually, I think it's this one.
Your camera's actually on right now. Nick, if you stop sharing your screen, we can have Doug's 2 cameras fill everything up, and I can actually spotlight your. Oh, you can do that too, Doug. You have this really lovely overhead camera. Oh, that works too. Okay, sure.
I think this will be good. I just need to see what I'm seeing.
Yeah, Nick, could you stop sharing your screen?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
So this is kind of what I'm working on during our talk, our experience here. And I can share with you kind of how things start. Like the candy pieces were more kind of abstraction, like this one or this one right here. And when I was in Haramara, I just wanted to have more, I don't know, start to bring in broader, bolder shapes. And so I started working this way. But then I really wanted to have something more like a narrative. So this is that combination of the abstraction and the narrative. And I was working with things like this, which I called my mandorla series. Mandorla is when 2 circles come together and creates that almond shape. So I really wanted to combine that with the candy pieces like this, and also bring in narrative. And so now I'm starting to build silhouette and then bring in color into it. So it ends up looking like pieces like this.
This is so cool, man. Wow.
Or this.
You've just gotten so much better. Just this lot, like you've been working on these a long time. I can see it's so developed now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I've been pushing it. So, because I was working a little bit like this, where it was just the abstraction with narrative in it and no candy, no color.
Right.
And these are like the mandorla pieces. And I think you've seen me working a bit on these types of works, Nick, before. Yeah. But I really miss saturated color. And I know in a lot of your workshops, you're always, bringing in like how to blend colors and stuff. And I felt like the little bad boy over in the corner working with saturated colors. And
pulling it off because you've got that black, the black makes it all work.
It does, doesn't it? So there's something about silhouette, and that is something that you bring into your workshops, where if you could have these, loud conversations and quiet conversations, the black really allows for even the saturated colors to go back, to go somewhere other than just in your face.
So cool. So many people are commenting on how they saw these things start to be put together at Haramara. A lot of people met you, talking about watching you work on not these paintings necessarily, but this particular style that you've embarked on.
Yeah.
Just like, we met Doug and Haramara. We started watching them do it.
I do want to talk a little bit about where I came from, which was the tarot deck. And what I've been doing with my tarot deck recently is having an artist create vector files. And now he's cutting them out of masonite, and then eventually they'll become metal pieces that hang on the wall. But this is where my tarot deck has gone. And
Wow.
and going back to what you were saying about the dark, I really love playing with black right now. And this is a way, this is an avenue I can take in creating imagery just out of silhouette.
You can just scale this too, and you can make these any size, right?
Right, exactly. And maybe people haven't seen, but maybe I can switch my camera here so I can show myself.
Hey, Doug, I have a tarot deck here you gave me.
Oh, cool. Do you want to show that?
This is the Doug worked on this project. It was a series of paintings. I mean, what? It was like 2 years. You would come to workshop after workshop, and you were always working on them. And
Right.
he made all these paintings. How many? What is it?
There's 78 images or 78 cards in a tarot deck.
And you'll provide links with us if people want to buy these, right? These are still available.
Yeah.
Look at this, you guys.
So those are the images that I was working with when I would go to Nick's workshops. I would be doing a lot of abstraction, and then in the background, and then lay these silhouettes, these strong silhouettes, or figurative, traditional kind of shading kind of images. But I really love the silhouette. But you can see behind there, like that's a good example of how there's a lot of texture. There's a lot of, those were done on the 12 by 12 panels. And you could see how I would lay down the paint and then sand it away. And then I would lay on top of it the narrative, and that would show up within those silhouetted figures, or sometimes these more three-dimensional figures. But they're it's the story of the little bearded guy. And initially I thought it was just I didn't know why I was painting these little bearded guys all the time. And so I just started to kind of put them in a lineup, and then made the images, made a story. Before I knew it, they became more stories of the little bearded guys going through a journey through the different elements. And now, and then at some point I realized it was more than just a journey through the elements and the seasons. It was actually a tarot deck. And then I really committed to that process. Yeah. So it's been a great journey for me, not only working on that huge project, but also working with Nick. And, sometimes it's like, why isn't this piece working? And it's like, then it becomes more like, like taking a car to a mechanic and saying, this isn't working. And then kind of problem solving and like, oh, maybe you need to bring more dark over in this area, or bring some more light, or push those colors back and bring this forward. It's really
what I love about how you work though, like that tarot deck, you didn't have any idea what it was going to become when you started it,
I did not. I absolutely did not.
Even the story.
Yeah, it was purely trying to figure out the story. And I think in general, we're all telling a story. If you spend enough time on something, they start to speak to you. Even the abstraction. If you commit to certain shapes, like what I'm noticing with your work, Nick, is that you have a history of certain shapes, and you build a relationship to those shapes. And the way the little bearded guys came out is I committed to a shape that was kind of like a paisley. It was kind of this round ball with a curly Q thing that would come off to the side. And it would show up in purely abstract pieces, and it would show up in more narrative pieces when I would say, okay, what is this going to be if I turned it in, if it could speak, or if I gave it eyes? And then many years ago, I just ran across the book the other day. I wrote this book, an illustrated book called Flicker and Stumpy. And it was a relationship between a stump and a candle. And the shape of this little stump guy came from the exact shape that I developed the little bearded guys out of. So I've really committed to that kind of circle with a little swirly thing that comes off that's like a beard at one point, but then it becomes like a cut tree that with a root coming out. So it became stumpy at one point. And
talking about,
so I really commit to, I advise people, like, they're like, oh, I'm stuck. I'd say commit to a shape.
is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what it is. It's basically his whole head, and then that part coming off as his beard. So that would be.
That's the shape that you went off of.
That's the shape. Yeah, exactly.
God. Now, are you in your new studio? You have that new building or that new place?
Yeah.
House. God, it looks amazing.
Oh, it's really fun. And let me just show you if I
Yeah,
could
let's see.
show you the.
And this is an art space you're created, right? Like, I know you can't do anything social gatherings, but the idea is to bring artists together with dance, theater, you know.
Yeah, this is
Wow.
I call it Art 105. So this is my space. And this is the arts district out here.
Oh yeah.
And this is one of the big pieces that the more early candy pieces, I call them. And so that's the really colorful kind of geometric shapes that had a narrative, but it wasn't strong enough for me at the point and that's when the dark started to come in and become more of a colorful thing. This is another piece of which I called the Mandorla series. That's when it got really elaborate. And there's something about concentric circles that I like, and I'm not sure why, but I just kept pushing it. And eventually those kind of pieces develop. But yeah, this is my space.
Wow.
And I own the Mona Lisa.
Oh, nice. That's, you know, if you go to garage sales, sometimes you pick up treasures.
Yeah. This is something I got from, it's kind of an industrial space. So I got this cool sign with all these colorful lights on it. But I think an artist space is so important to have a space where you are inspired to be creative. And that's why I've kind of invested in this kind of a space so that I can, when I walk into the space, I get inspired. And I just want to say, I share the space with Brad, my partner.
Yes.
Brad Davis. And so these are some of his pieces. I know he doesn't want me to show the works that he's working on.
I want to get him on here. So you got to keep.
Yeah.
I've already seen his work and we want to see more.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And a way you can see more of his work is, here, let me just turn this around.
We'll get him on here.
Is if you go to Art 105, Art 105 is a gallery that I have in Pasadena.
Oh, okay.
And it's got some great, we just have a show there, but it literally opened days before
Oh God.
the shutdown. And so what we did is we created a virtual gallery. And right now you can actually walk through the space virtually on an app and see the artwork. So that's pretty cool.
Well, we'll get the link for that and all that.
Yeah,
right?
so those will be attached on there. And you can also see the deck as well, the Journey of the Bearded Tarot. There'll be a link for that.
God,
and
that's amazing.
yeah, it's well, I think this shutdown kind of forced me to kind of introspect. And so there's kind of a silver lining to this, and probably a lot of other people have experienced that in their work as well.
Yeah.
That when all of the distractions are taken away, you can now dive into the work or dive into your ideas.
Yeah.
And one of the things I dove into was kind of how can I represent art for myself, but other people in a bigger way. And that's kind of been my goal these days. And so the gallery is that, and these like virtual gallery and other ways of getting it out there.
Well, listen, thanks so much for jumping on here. And you know, it's frustrating because I haven't seen the studio yet. Now I'm gonna have to wait a bunch of months, but it's just incredible to see it. Wow. And boy, I think, you know, when you get a bigger studio, your work grows, you know, exponentially. And I just see that in the scale of it and the momentum you've got now. It's amazing.
Yeah, you need it gets bigger. And that was something Brad and I also found, that sharing a studio, which probably some of the viewers are doing, it's tricky because you not only are sharing a space, which is a physical space, but you're sharing your open notebook. I almost see a studio as a notebook, and you're playing around with ideas, and it's like somebody has entered your head and is working alongside of you. You're like, oh my God, how do I function with, and they have ideas and they're working out stuff as well. We've worked it out, and you know, sometimes it has its challenges, but it's the larger space does produce larger work, and it makes you expand beyond what you thought.
Listen, thanks again for being here. It's awesome. And I'll be down in LA as soon as I can to see it all in person.
Yay. I look forward to that.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
Thanks, and really.
Take care.
And again, we'll have all of his links and all that stuff for you guys, so you can see everything.
Nick, people want to just know what you're working on right now. If you just tell a little bit about what you've done so far.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just making this pattern design thing. Kind of liking it. You know, it's funny. I love talking to people and also painting. I haven't really been paying much attention, but I am liking this. I see it on the camera, and it's funny. I can see what to do better by looking at the iPad, because it gives me a distant view, you know. So I'm just working on this shapes and patterns, this abstract kind of thing here. And you can see I'm bringing up, the paint's still pretty wet, and this white is kind of still wet, and I'm dragging. If I want to bring color up, I can just drag, and it pulls the colors. I remember when I started, I had all that rich color underneath there. So I painted really thick on top of it, and I lose it, but then I can scrape back through, and I'm getting all these little surprise colors. So it's kind of fun. That's kind of what I'm working on, just creating this little design.
And just because I know people are going to ask, and I'm interested too, could you tell us what colors you're using? And is there any sort of method to how you're picking these colors out?
Not really. I'm using, of course, Art to Life paints. You can get these from our store, but at arttolife.com. But I'm also using some golden paint that you can get from Golden. You know, I use a blend of things, but I like our paint because we mix it up, and I've got some of my favorite colors. I've got custom colors, and so I use these. And these really, all this means is that these are colors that have a lot of other colors in them, and we put them in squeeze bottles so they can be, so it's fast, you know. So and so like these are all custom colors here, so they're just kind of rich already. And yeah, and I'm not worrying too much about color right now. I'm just kind of painting rather boldly. And then, you know, with cadmium and everything, and then I might glaze this in a little bit, but I'm able to knock the color down by scraping, which is sort of like glazing because it brings in all these other colors. So, you know, I can put in this really thick red, but then I can scrape through and make it look, you know, take away some of its visual strength by, once it's dry a little, I can scrape back through. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I was trying to be kind of more wild today is the idea, and this is pretty wild.
Element in that, or elements that you say are more in the theme of wildness?
Well, I guess what it is, you know, when you have a painting and you can, you know, just scrape through, this quality is out of control. Like I can't control that. And that brings, so that's really what this is about. I'm scraping back through, you know, out of control. And then I'm coming back in and painting in control. So it's the combination of out of control and clean that looks so nice to me. I'm interested in that, you know. That's, you know, it's kind of like Doug was saying, this is the narrative of this piece is about putting paint on, scraping it off, putting it back on, and there's line in it. You know, I love lines. I'm using pencil to draw. I'll draw the lines back in, and it just gets richer and richer the more you kind of work on it. I don't really have a plan, but this is all acrylic on a birch plywood. Okay.
Some people are just asking if you want to touch upon this. Is this stuff that's taught in CVP?
Oh, totally. Yeah. So this is, you know, I'm using principles and I teach principles. And this was, you know, Doug was talking about this a little in the, you know, because we were working on this tarot deck. And it was just interesting because each painting is a problem. Each of it has some challenges. And I remember this one, you know, and it's like, well, maybe the fire shouldn't all be red. Maybe it should be dark. And there's ways and principles to use to optimize what you're trying to do with your work. Now he's trying to tell a story, but there was definitely a lot of discussion about principles, using contrasts to make things look, to optimize them, to make them look exciting to look at. So what Art to Life, what I teach a lot, just in, you know, shooting from the hip kind of generally, is this idea of differences. And in CVP, we go, which is the Creative Visionary Program, we go way into this. So the reason these colors are looking kind of rich is because there's a lot of dull colors mixed in. The reason this scrapey paint looks so good is because there's some clean areas as well. And these wide swatches of color look really good with these thin pencil lines. So these are all about differences and combining differences and understanding how to change and modify and fix your work when you get stuck. And that's just, you know, part of it's intuition, but a part of it also is just having principles. So Art to Life, where I teach design, value, color, risk, texture, and soul. Those are the principles that we go into in a big way. And then once those are learned, it gives you a lot more control and it's a lot more fun.
Just for those of you who are asking, currently we're in CVP right now, but if you're interested in CVP 2021, you can just shoot us an email at info@arttolife.com and we can add you to our wait list.
Yeah, we'll put it on the PDF download as well, you know. But yeah, we only do it once a year because it's 12 weeks and it's super intensive. But okay, listen, let's hop over and see Gordon. Let me share my screen. I just want to show you what Gordon's stuff is. Okay, let's go. Okay, so Gordon Studer is in Los Angeles also, and good friend, amazing painter. And this is just some of his work. I haven't seen this painting. This is new. A few of these. I just saw a show of his recently, but none of these were in it. This is cool. This one was. I remember this one. And these are some, I believe, 12 by 12s. Gordon, are these 12 by 12s?
They are, yeah.
Beautiful.
And, well, I was going to talk about the one on the right is actually the technique I used to get these 12. And the one on the left is the 12 that ended up in the show.
Oh,
But and I'll show you, I've got it set up here. I started one this morning, but what I do is I start working on, well, we can talk about it later if you want.
no. Go
So
for it. Cool.
I actually thought I had this idea of trying to create a whole painting. So that's 9 12 by 12s and trying to make the painting work as a whole. And that got problematic. But what I discovered was that I felt like I had a lot more freedom working on the big one and not thinking about the individual ones. And then suddenly there would be like 2 that really work and I pull them out. And that's how I created this, the final ones. I repainted, I did a big paint, about 3 or 4 big paintings because I just would replace another one and keep this big group of paintings. And it just frees me up because I don't feel the pressure of, I don't know. And so I started one this morning trying the same thing.
I love this one, like, so the one to the right that we're looking at, what's that?
That is the 12. Like if you look, see, because then I'm trying to just make one big painting, but then at the end of the day, I pull them and separate them and look at them. So if you look over on the left, you can see the ones that came out of this process.
Oh yeah.
The round one, the down on the bottom. And
Right. But not all of them, right? Not all of them.
But I created 4 large paintings. I kept replacing the pieces. So that's why they have different personalities, but they're all related. They're all kind of have a piece of a color from the overall, like painting 4 times.
Well, I love them individually and I also like them together as well.
Well, and then I'll mix and match, and that's what I'm doing right now this morning. I've switched them around like 3 times, and so you disrupt the big painting, and then it makes your brain start working again. But yet, I feel a lot more freedom working on the big painting versus isolating the 1 12 by 12 and trying to make it work.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of a technique that I learned from trying to get these 9 pieces ready for this show. I was a little panicky, I got to get them ready. And then I thought of this idea of doing that. And I now use it. I'll even put like a 6 24 by 24s and paint a huge drawing. And then I'll just pull out the 2 that work. And then I'll do the detail work on them. It's you talk about, I was thinking this morning about the whole wild concept.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, well, how do I sort of relate to it? And I realized that it's just about finding that something doesn't, like not being precious. And
yes.
That worked for me. So doing these multiple panels together and actually trying to make it work as one big painting, because it is when you're on social media and you zoom in on a little detail work and you're like, that's brilliant. But the whole overall painting really isn't working. And so it's just something I did and it really kind of paid off for me. And so I've been continuing to work that way. So yeah.
I love it. I love how you're, and it also makes the pieces feel they're scaled because they're part of a bigger picture. You know what I mean?
Well, and those 9 are actually, they're kind of from the same, they're like a distant cousin because there's a piece of a color from the original painting that might be on the one from the last painting. So they're kind of have evolved because I do it 4 times. Like I'll do a full painting 4 times and then pull out the ones I like, then replace them with new ones.
So
and
there'll be
do
total
another
blanks. There'll be total blanks in there.
I mean, look, I'll show you. So here's one I took some old ones this morning.
Yeah.
And so.
Oh, beautiful.
And so then and there's total freedom because I don't care, right? I'm just painting a big starting a big painting. Then I pull the pieces out and you can start to see, is that working? Wow. And then, you know what I found that's so interesting? The middle one never works. Right? Because you don't want to have a focal point there.
Oh, right.
The middle one never works.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And so, yeah, and then I'll take them out and I'll move them around.
Oh, that is so cool. Oh, so they're on hooks. They're each able to be moved around.
Right. And so let's say I like this one. I would
Yeah.
put this aside,
Oh my God. You're seeing it first here, you guys.
and then I would go, and then I just replace it with another panel that I've been working on, or a blank panel. And then I do another, just keep working it, and keep working and keep
I
working.
love
Now I
it.
have to react to this because we have a new character that I got to make it start to kind of
Yeah,
work.
yeah. And you have that color now. You have this new color coming in.
Right, now I got to, okay, now that, so how am I going to make that work with all that stuff?
Dude, this is so cool. I didn't quite understand, but I'm
Right. And so I'll do that with even big ones. So imagine these being 24 by 24. So I end up making, I mean, do the
wow.
math. So, and it's actually helped me see how to do bigger paintings better, because then I'm starting to realize I need to make broader strokes, because I'm still
Yes.
it's kind of medium scale. But when
Yes.
you pull out the it's massive. It's simple and massive. See,
Right.
like I might pull that and I'd start working on this then and realize maybe I just need some little detail work here. And so, yeah, that's my new little trick.
That's awesome. Now tell everyone how you make these exactly. Is what kind of paint it is and everything.
I'm doing all acrylic. And then sometimes I will end it with some oil, like make a bold moves with some oil stick as the last move on top of it all. But right now,
fix those. How do you fix the oil stick on there?
I mean, I'll varnish the whole thing, or I don't know. I don't. You know,
okay.
it's interesting because I've also, another technique I've been doing is where I paint oil, use an oil stick on top of acrylic, and then I cover the whole canvas. And so I'll make a pattern with the oil, and then I let it dry, and you can see it start to crack. And actually, one of the paintings that was in the examples, that's the one I'm working on. Then you scrape it off, and it will only scrape off where the oil was.
Right, because it's like a resist. It doesn't glue.
It doesn't glue. And it gives it a real, like, rough kind of crazy look. It looks like some kind of like archaeologist is digging something up. Now, and I was doing this on deadline for a show. What I didn't realize is that black oil stick takes about 3 weeks to dry.
Oh man.
And that piece is in the Los Angeles Design Center right now. And it's totally unstable. Like I call over every once in a while and say, has anything chipped off lately? But I like that. You know, I like the instability of
I
things.
do too. You know, it's funny because I demonstrate this in CVP, and it's a video, and I teach this. It's like, you know, I use oil pastels with acrylic paint, which is a total no-no, but because I like it how it falls apart, but it makes a lot of people nervous. But I like how it breaks. The acrylic comes off. It creates a really interesting texture.
And I mean, like with this painting that like basically took 2.5 months to dry, I kind of like it. It's like felt kind of dangerous.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And now it's all dried, and so and I put a varnish on it, and it seems like it's pretty stable now. And but I don't think you can duplicate that look unless I was dealing with these two unstable elements.
Right, right.
So I like that idea of breaking the rules and seeing what happens. Now, sometimes it really screws things up, but so what?
Yeah, totally. Wow, that's so great. So so you're just stuck in your studio. Is this your home too?
No, I live about 4 miles away, but it's a individual studio, so it has its own entrance. So I'm all safe here and just, I'm the only one here.
Are you finding this a good time? Are you being productive? I mean, you know, is it, because Doug was saying it's like, I'm just making a lot of art. I mean, are you?
Well, you know what? The first, I mean, how long have we been going? I don't even know how long.
I don't know, it's 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, I would say actually the first 2 weeks, and I think I was kind of doing it before it was official. I had a really hard time the first 2 weeks. Like I couldn't even, I'd come to the studio and yeah, I couldn't paint. It was hard.
Yeah, I think we saw that in the program, you know, it's just a different way of thinking or something. I don't know, but
You know, I think it has something to do with, I was feeling like my response to what the world is like is my painting. Like that's part of it, you know, it's hectic out there. I come in here. So now the energetic completely changes. The world isn't hectic as much now. It's all quiet and animals are coming out and it's
right.
Suddenly my painting in response to what's going on changed. And so I had to kind of get a sense of how that felt. It feels a lot more, I feel more heart-centered.
Interesting.
Like way more present and like I feel there's a lot more emotion when I'm painting now, like than I did before. Like my music even has changed. And you know, one of the things I wanted to talk about this whole wild thing is I was thinking about, because one of the things I do with my work is the very last marks that I make are my most daring marks. I like them to be the freshest and the most the most daring, brave marks I make in the whole painting. So here's like an example of like, this painting was all finished down there. Can you see? Oh, wait. And so there's a lot of detail in there that I did, you know, with all sorts of stuff. It was almost felt like it was maybe finished. And then I knew I wanted to make some kind of end it with some bold mark. And so that blue, I mean, you got to be in the right frame of mind because you only get one shot at it.
You know, I was going to say that, you know, the fact that your boldest moves are at the end, I don't think that's, most people paint like that. I mean, I think that's pretty awesome.
I think they're my first marks and then my last mark. I just like at least one dominant mark to be like super fresh. And then, so I was thinking about like, is that wild? And then I was thinking about my mindset about that. It's not really wild for me, but it's being I usually have to, I mean, this could sound kind of spiritual, but I got to be really present and almost feel like if I'm really emotional or think about, or I'm affected by something that I'm almost on the edge of feeling really emotional, that's when I seem to have the bravery to make these marks and trust them.
Wow.
It's actually kind of a quiet process. It's very deliberate. I'm super present and focused. I think I mentioned to you that I, like 8 years ago, I had amnesia.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's a bizarre thing. And you become, you know, not that I can remember it because that's the nature of amnesia, but you're super present. Like you're like an animal. And that's the closest I can equate to like experiencing that, to like when I make these final, like really bold, very present moves. Anyhow, I know.
No, I get it. And I think, you know, what you're saying about like the time right now is quiet and it's kind of calm and it, like there's no one out and it requires a different kind of response.
Right.
You know, like if you're referencing your life and what you're experiencing, and we're just not used to that, you know?
Well, it's exactly what you talk about. It's like we have a new color to respond to.
Yeah.
A new shape to respond to. So it's like the painting was a direct, I never really got that, but it was a direct response, not only to the shapes and colors of my painting, but to my life and what I was trying to express.
Yeah. That's really, you know, I'm always trying to think of themes for this kitchen table art project. And there's something to that. You know, like how meditative it's become. And I mean, it's changed my work, totally, but it's so interesting.
It is.
Wow.
We'll
Can
see.
I ask a couple of questions about your work, if possible?
Yeah, thanks, Ferris.
Just some people want to know about your those canvases you were working with, the sort of grid work. Do you sell those individually, or do you sell them as a whole? How do you deal with that if someone wants or really likes a small portion of it?
Yeah, I'll sell them individually, and I price them as a whole as well.
That's so cool.
But just because of the process that I use, I can kind of plug in a new one, or so like right now I have some at the design center. I have all 9 of those in the design center in Los Angeles. So if they sell one, the agreement is that I'll paint up a new one to replace it.
That's great. That was actually my next question. I was like, what happens if you sell a piece of it? That last bold mark you made at the end, what did you use to make that?
Okay, that's the thing I included in my, so because I'm using acrylic, now, we all know about the oil sticks.
Oh, I love these things. The RNF oil sticks. Fantastic.
But I have discovered the acrylic version.
Really?
What's
Actually,
that?
they go on like oil. So I included an image of that, and they're called, oh, my glasses. They're called Sakura colors.
Oh, Sakura, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't even think they were made for art. They're made to like write on different kinds of materials. And they're a lot like the early one that Drew was talking about. Like, I don't know how it does it, but it's compatible with acrylic. Now, the only problem is they come in kind of really lame colors.
The acrylic ones?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
the red's good, yellow's okay. Blue is really good, but
Up.
black
Can
and
you-
white obviously are good.
See it? Hold one up in front of your camera so people can see the pen.
I'm trying to get a clean one.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome.
But also, I'll also get like I'll get like a wash of acrylic, and so I'll kind of wash over the pen to give it a more sophisticated color because they're kind of not so great. So if it seems like, wow, if I could give it a little warmth, it might look kind of cool. You kind of do that, and for some reason it sticks on that stuff and it will wipe off around it. So it's a way I can adjust the colors a little bit.
And that's what you did with that last blue mark there that you showed
Yeah,
us?
totally. Yeah.
Wow, very cool.
Hey, Ferris, I just want to check. Will we be? Do you think? Do you think Drew's camera is working?
I think I would love to give it a shot. Drew,
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear us right now, but
Because I know he's working on something, and I'd love to see it. And I know
would
his
love
camera.
to have you come back in. I know that his one of the earlier camera he was using may have dropped off, but
Okay.
let's see if we can. Drew, I just unmuted you.
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just quickly, Nick, before we move over to Drew, is there anything else
Yes.
you want to say to Gordon?
Yeah. Let me just wrap with Gordon. So, Gordon, we just have a few minutes left, but listen, dude, thanks so much for coming on today and sharing what you're doing. It's looking great.
Thanks a lot. Good to see you.
Really. We'll be in touch, buddy.
I like your painting too.
Yeah, I'm just excited. Thanks. Okay, I'll
Bye.
talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, Gordon.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, I'm still here. I'm enjoying the show.
Yeah, that's cool. So what do you got working on? So let's see what you've been working on.
Yeah, so I've just been busy painting, and
Could you hold it up a little higher, Drew? Just hold it up a little bit higher.
there we go. And so this is the wild side. I wish I was at the beach, and I wish I was surfing. So this would be my little happy place.
Yeah.
And I'm known for waves and suns, and it's beautiful out today. They're going to open the beaches here this weekend, so I'm excited to get out there and decompress.
How much do you surf, Drew?
I usually surf every day.
Wow.
So that's all my inspiration comes from surfing and nature. And you can see the Posca pens. I painted that painting while everybody was talking. So it's a real fast, easy medium to get an idea out.
Yeah, and we sell all these, you guys, as well on our store, but it's totally dry now, right? Like that painting's dry.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So each color combination dries really fast. And
Did
yeah,
you know about those Sakura pens that Gordon was talking about? Because they're kind of similar. They don't have as good colors.
Yeah, I couldn't see it because our rig,
okay.
we looking through the phones, I couldn't make out the brand, but I'm
The
sure it's
brand's
something
called
similar.
Sakura. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you should try the Poscas. It might help a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I just really loved all the artists and all the different styles and ideas, and
Yeah.
you know, I feel like I work too much and I'm not getting out there, hanging out with folks like you, and it's really been nice.
Yeah, I agree, man. We started doing this just like, oh, this would be good for people who are stuck at home. But this is the favorite time of the week for me because I get to touch base with people. And, it's kind of an effort to like organize and bug people to come. But then you get to see what they're making. I mean, I haven't seen Doug's work or Gordon's or what you've been,
Yeah.
I just think it's so helpful. It's so inspiring,
Yeah. Well, once we get our power back on, I'd love to show you inside and all the stuff I'm working on like everybody else. And
Well, absolutely. We'll have you back for sure.
yeah, well, I sure enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And again, everyone will links to his Posca parties, which are great, you guys. It's really fun, man. And it was such a world when I went and did that party to see, like, there's a whole community of people that are making art with these pens. It was before I met you, I didn't even know about this, but you've been doing it a long time, but there's also other people that have been inspired by you, and they're just got a whole world, all different kinds of work and stuff. It's cool.
It's a great introductory into art. I'm finding that I'm getting every aspect from the beginner to a successful artist that just wants to try something different that's really fast. And it's just been a wonderful experience because we're getting people from all over the world, and kids and older people.
Yeah,
and some of them are, I think what's really neat is for the first time, some of these people are going back to something that they always wanted to do. And this time period has allowed them to have the time to do it, which is really exciting. I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, I'd love to do art as a kid and I haven't done it in years and I'm no good. And then we have this Posca paint party and they all of a sudden created something amazing.
Yeah.
And we got people creating again. And I just think that's good for the mind and the soul, and
absolutely.
And good for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, Drew, thanks a lot. And, say hi to Maria for me. We didn't get to see her, but,
yeah, I'll say hi, and we'll be back on another time.
Oh, I would love that. I love that. All right, great. Hey, Ferris, are there any questions for Drew before we take off?
Actually, was one question, Drew. People just wanted, we're wondering if you could speak to the blending capabilities of the Posca markers.
Good question.
So that's like one of the number one asked questions. And what's great is you work fast. So usually I take a blending combination. So it might be like a dark blue to light blue to white. And I start with the darkest color and I lay it down, and then I blend right on the canvas or on the surfboard or skateboard or whatever I'm designing. And it just allows you to move really fast.
Like that sun behind you, it's totally been blended. On the art behind you, there's a sun that goes from light to orange.
Yeah, and so those the pens themselves, since they stay wet for a little while, and you blend it right on the canvas. So sometimes we use a little blending medium to keep it wet for a little bit longer, but that's part of the speed of painting. So that's why the pens are so good, that it's real methodical and you just go around with each blend. And a lot of people are nervous. They're afraid to mess up the tip, but the tip is very resilient. And as you blend it in and then blend it out, the tip goes back to the original color.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you did the leaves in that tree, you know, like there's outline, but there's also like, it's very delicate, those leaves, you know, like it's all shaded.
Yeah. And the color palette's really good. So that's one of the things I really liked about the tool is that I was able to create so many different colors with just the stock palette that they provided. And then I just add like little bits. So if you want to, you just add a little bit of color there, and then you use the lightest color to blend it. And it was just amazing what you can create. And one of my friends, Phil Robert, who's a master painter, to see him use the pens after he's already mastered all these other mediums, it was just so cool how he could create a masterpiece so fast with the pens.
Wow.
And so that just made me realize that, you know, no matter what medium you're working in, each one has its place. And this one's just like a really great way to get ideas out fast, and especially for illustration when you're working on something for packaging or something like this, that, you know, you're not creating a masterpiece, you're just trying to get an idea out that's good enough and doesn't take a whole lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just
Well,
quickly,
awesome,
Drew, because we're talking about finishing right now, how do you seal your work, or do you even need to with these markers?
No, I do. What's great is I just use like an acrylic spray fixative to lock in the colors. And what's great is when that fixative seal hits it, it really pops the color. So it goes on a little pastel-y when it dries, and then when the acrylic goes on there, it pops. And then if I really want it to pop, like the painting behind me has a layer of Liquitex acrylic varnish on there. So it seems like the deeper I get that varnish, the better it looks.
Over time, does the brightness or the luminosity of the colors, does it fade at all in your experience?
It's interesting that they seem to hold color pretty well. I've been working with them for about 30 years, which sounds kind of crazy, but some of the original surfboards that I did, unfortunately, surfboards get left in the sun a lot. They did fade a little bit on the surfboards, but I recently got to see one of the paintings that I did about 20 years ago, and it looked perfect. I had a museum show, and so they found some of these paintings, and I was stunned at how well it kept its color. And just like any other paint, I think the sun is its enemy. So as long as you keep things away from the sun, it's pretty good.
Wow, that's amazing that for markers that they're that light fast.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. And anyway, but thanks again, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. Awesome. Appreciate it. All right. So we're here at 1:35, and we're, let me just change my camera here.
Just before you go to do some final points to check. Sorry, you do your thing, and I just want to jump in afterwards.
No, go ahead and you jump in, because I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
I'll jump in. So first thing is people would love to take a look at your painting to see what you're doing.
Okay.
Maybe a little update on what you have done, where you think you're gonna go with it next.
Okay. Is that the question?
That's the question. There's just some other notifications.
Okay, well, I'll do that right now.
Yeah.
So I keep looking at my camera to see this design, which so I'm using, this is a pretty good start for me. Like, I like this a lot. I'm just kind of clarifying stuff and cleaning stuff up. I brought a little crayon into it. And, I like to make it so my eye can kind of like move around, and this could be like a really cool large painting. Yeah, so right now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to balance the clean edges with some of the soft, messy edges, right? Like there's a lot of wiped out areas, and I want to bring in a little more, some clean things up a little, like this area right here. See how it's kind of ambiguous? So I wanted to bring just a little bit of clarification there. Maybe dark, put a little dark up there, just some fine tuning things. But I probably won't try and finish this right now because I've taken this really far just while we've been on this call, and I like to kind of get away from it for a while. But this is working pretty well. You know, like I like this. I'm sure I'll see things tomorrow, but right now, yeah, I just, you know, this is exactly kind of a good point to stop here. You know, I'm just, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
And then some people are asking about how they can share and participate if they're using Instagram.
Okay, so how you do that, you guys, is use the hashtag.
Change your camera, if you wouldn't mind.
What's
Sorry.
that?
Could you change your camera so we could...
Okay, yeah, thanks. So use the hashtag Kitchen Table Art Project, and use a hashtag when you're posting stuff in, if you're in the Art to Life Facebook group, we have a lot of people in there. That's sort of the base of everything. If you want to be join that, it's free. Go ahead. We got a lot of cool stuff. I stream stuff in there, and so we look in there for if people put something and they want to contribute something towards the theme of the week. Then I'll give you a hint about the next one coming up. But like this one was all about being wildness, and so people used that hashtag, and then you can use it on Instagram, and you can use it if you're a member of the Art to Life Artist Free Facebook group. And then we post those images, and then at the end of the week we choose something cool. Actually, Laura usually does it, but I always agree. And then that person gets a $50 gift certificate, or if they're not in the United States, we just do it to Amazon. So yeah, so that's how that works. Yeah.
And then also for those people who aren't on our mailing list right now and you want to get the PDF from this call, and you'd also like to be notified about the emails when the next one's coming up, you can actually just go to kitchentableartproject.com. There's a little link at the very, very top. You can just click on that. You give us your email address, and then we can send you all the information you need to.
And that works forevermore, you guys. You don't have to keep like going, getting it. It takes us a little time. The project, turns out, with the Kitchen Table Art Project isn't so much doing this, although this is a project. It's everything people talk about, and we don't know what they're going to talk about until they talk about it. So then we have to gather it all up, because that's really the value, you know, like what exactly, how do you spell Sakura pen? You know, we didn't know that Gordon was going to share that, you know, so all of that stuff we try and put together in a nice PDF, and we can't do it in one day, but it comes, usually we'll have it tomorrow.
And then the last thing I would say is that when you do sign up, when you give us your email address, we mail you the latest PDF once it's put together, like Nick said. But also in that same email, we also provide you a link where you can download all of the future PDFs. So for those of you who keep coming back and wanting to get all the content, watch all the recordings, you can actually just bookmark that URL in your web browser, and then you can just come back to it at your leisure. That's the last thing I would add. I think aside from that, Nick, I think we're good here.
Yeah, and I just want to encourage people, you know, like go to these guys, you know, go check out Doug's work and Gordon's and Drew and Rachel, and you know, we need to support each other, you know. So if something's kind of cool to you, buy it, you know, get that's what I do. And I find that it's just kind of great to like, if that, you know, tarot deck was cool to you, get it. It's an amazing thing, you know, because it's like, these are the things that influence you. So if something resonates for you here, dive into it, pick up some of those pens, you know, whatever, some of the Posca pens. Yeah, so anyway, that's about it. I hope you guys have an awesome week. Oh, I was going to give you a little clue, a little hint. It's going to be all about repurposing next week. And I'll be talking about that. I share the theme of this on the Sunday blog, which is coming out on Sunday. And I'll be talking about what the theme is. And we've got a cool lineup of people for that one as well. So hope to see you again next Wednesday. And again, thanks for being here. Super, super appreciate it. And thanks for everyone on Instagram who stuck with this, and on Facebook and YouTube. Join the Facebook group. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Okay, thanks so much.